Have you ever found yourself stuck in endless thinking, making plans, creating lists, watching motivational videos, but when it's time to actually take action, you freeze? You're not alone. And what if I told you that the answer isn't thinking harder, but thinking less? Welcome back to Novel Nuggets. Today, we're breaking down one of the most transformative productivity books in recent years, Think Less, Do More by Peter Hollins. In this deep dive, you'll discover practical, psychology-backed strategies to overcome overthinking, build momentum, and finally start taking the action that creates real results. Whether you're struggling with procrastination, perfectionism, or analysis paralysis, this book has the solutions. Let's dive in. You've probably heard the advice, if it's worth doing well. Sounds motivating, right? But here's the problem. This advice contains a hidden message that's actually sabotaging your success. The unspoken part is, or else don't bother. When you follow this mindset, you set the bar impossibly high. And here's what happens. You make your first attempt, and it's imperfect, because you're learning. You're a beginner. Your work doesn't meet your excellence standard, so you conclude it's worthless. And logically, the only thing to do is give up. This is the perfectionism trap. High standards lead to inaction, not productivity. Peter Hollins suggests something counterintuitive: lower your standards. Not permanently, but strategically. The goal isn't mediocrity, it's momentum. Here's the reframe. If you want to go to the gym and start working out, don't visualize becoming a fitness model. Visualize showing up and doing 5 minutes of exercise. Just 5 minutes. That's not your end goal, it's your starting point. When you lower the friction and the perceived difficulty, you remove the mental resistance. You're no longer thinking, can I do this perfectly? You're asking, can I do something today? And suddenly, the answer is yes. Why does this matter? Because starting imperfectly is the beginning of learning. Each imperfect attempt teaches you something. You gain confidence. Momentum builds. And paradoxically, you eventually become better at whatever you're doing than if you'd never started because you were waiting for perfection. The chapter's core message, action, even imperfect action, beats perfect inaction every single time. Motivational speakers have built entire empires on this idea. You need motivation first. Find your passion. Get inspired. Feel the energy. Then you'll have the drive to act. But according to psychologist David D. Burns, and backed by decades of behavioral, Burns argues that action comes first, motivation follows. Think about the last time you felt truly in the zone, where everything flowed and you had seemingly unlimited motivation. What created that feeling? It wasn't motivation generating the action. It was the action generating the motivation. You started doing something, gained momentum, and as the momentum built, so did your motivation. This is the opposite of what we've been taught. Our culture has sold us a seductive lie. Find your passion, do what you love, pursue your dreams with fire and desire. And when we don't feel that fire initially, we assume something's wrong. Maybe this isn't our calling. Maybe we should wait. But here's the truth. Inspiration is brief. It's like a match spark that ignites for a few seconds and then disappears. It's not designed to sustain you through a project. What sustains you is momentum. And momentum comes from action, not from feeling inspired first. The counterintuitive solution is this. When you're uninspired, unmotivated, and lacking energy, that's exactly when you should take action, even if it's something tiny. Take one small step, write one paragraph, do one set of exercises, make one call. That small action gives you a tiny boost of confidence and self-determination. You're no longer passive, you're in the game. You've started. And here's what happens next. As you build momentum, motivation naturally follows. You don't wait for motivation. You create it through action. When most people hear risk taker, they picture someone extreme, a thrill seeker bungee jumping or wrestling snakes. So if that doesn't describe you, you might think, well, I'm smart to avoid unnecessary risks. I'll play it safe. But here's what MIT's Bill Ollett discovered. Not taking risks is often the riskiest thing you can do. When you choose not to risk change, you're making a choice. You're choosing the status quo. They're saying, I'm happy with where I am. But here's the cost. The moment you stop growing, you start declining. The market changes. Your skills become obsolete. Your life becomes smaller, not safer. Risk-averse people often look back at their lives with profound regret. Not because they took risks and failed, but because they never tried anything that mattered. Risk versus recklessness. Now, this doesn't mean blindly throwing yourself at danger. Taking a reasonable, calculated risk is completely different from recklessness. The key distinction: before taking a risk, you gather information. You make an informed decision. You have a strategy. This is smart risk-taking. You're not gambling. You're strategically stepping outside your comfort zone. Inside your comfort zone, everything is safe and predictable. But it's also potentially stale and small. Outside your comfort zone is novelty, growth, potential, and achievement. But it's also where loss, humiliation, and failure live. You can't have both safety and growth. It's always a choice. But here's what's important. Even if the worst happens when you take a risk, there's still value. You learn something. You become more capable. You're a different person, usually a better one than if you never tried. The chapter asks you to find someone who played it completely safe their entire life. What kind of legacy did they leave? The real success strategy is that if the people who achieve extraordinary things have taken reasonable risks, they've stepped out of their comfort zones repeatedly. Yes, some attempts fail, but the growth and opportunities that come from that courage compound over time. Most people think of action in binary terms. You're either doing something or you're not. But best-selling author Grant Cardone breaks action into 4 distinct levels. Understanding these levels is crucial because they create vastly different outcomes. Level 1, doing nothing. This is complete inaction. You're not trying to change anything. You're not learning, moving forward, or creating. You're simply staying still. Statistically, doing nothing keeps you average at best, below average over time. Level 2, retreating. This might seem paradoxical, but retreating is also a form of action. Action in the reverse direction. You're actually making things worse. You might lose ground, undo progress, or cancel advances you've made. Why do people do this? Fear. They imagine negative outcomes from taking action, so they retreat instead. They give up on diets, they quit jobs, they abandon relationships. The action is real, but it's backward action. Level 3, normal action. This is where most people operate. They put in average effort, work a normal schedule, avoid excessive challenge, and achieve conventional results. Predictable marriage, predictable career, predictable income, predictable life. The problem: when normal action hits resistance, competition, obstacles, adversity, it typically doesn't hold up. It becomes even weaker. Normal effort can't overcome abnormal challenges. Level 4, massive action. This is the level where transformation happens. Massive action isn't just working harder. It's operating at an entirely different level. Cardone views massive action as creating new problems, unreasonable actions that generate new opportunities requiring further action. It's not sustainable to operate here 100% of the time, but it's the level where real success lives. The average person reads 1 book a year. Someone at the massive action level reads 1 per week. The average person works just enough. Massive action means working until the job is genuinely complete. The difference between normal and massive action is the difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one. Normal action will never produce supernatural results. If you want above-average outcomes, you need above-average effort. Massive action isn't about working yourself to exhaustion. It's about working intelligently and intensely where it counts. Author Stephen Pressfield in The War of Art identifies one main reason people fail to take action: resistance. Resistance is internal fear. It's procrastination, self-sabotage, self-doubt, and the voice in your head that questions whether you're capable. Resistance especially appears in creative work, writing, starting a business, creating art, but it affects all significant action. Imagine you want to write a novel you've been dreaming about for years. You know writing it will be deeply satisfying, but you sit at your desk day after day and produce nothing. Is it writer's block? Are you just a poor writer? Pressfield says no. You're experiencing resistance, pure and simple. It's that nagging inner voice. Your ideas aren't interesting. You have no talent. This will be embarrassing. You should give up. This voice seems small, but it's powerful enough to consistently stand between you and what you want. Pressfield talks about resistance like a force of nature, constantly pushing against your efforts. It's powered by all your negative thought patterns, low self-esteem, self-biases, laziness, and fear. And here's the trap. The more you procrastinate, the more resistance confirms that you're incompetent. This creates a vicious cycle. You delay starting, resistance tells you, this proves you're not capable. You are not your resistance. Let me repeat, you are not your resistance. Procrastinating on a task isn't proof that you should quit. It's not evidence of your incompetence. It's simply a common reluctance that every human experiences during creative or challenging work. It's normal. It's expected. It's not a reason to stop. The only response that works is simple. Acknowledge the resistance exists and take action anyway. When you sit down to work and your mind generates a stream of self-doubt and criticism, this is boring. You have no skill. Everyone will judge you. You should wait. That's resistance speaking. Don't spend energy arguing with it. Don't psychoanalyze it. Don't try to convince yourself you're capable. Simply observe it and act anyway. The action itself is what breaks resistance. Not thinking about it, doing it. Researchers published a study in the British Journal of Health Psychology involving 248 people trying to build a new exercise habit over 2 weeks. They divided people into 3 groups. Group 1, control, simply tracked their exercise frequency. Group 2, motivation, watched a presentation on exercise benefits plus tracked frequency. Group 3, implementation intention, watched the presentation and created a specific plan. The results: Group 1, 38% exercised at least once per week. Group 2, similar results to Group 1. The motivation presentation made no D. Group 3 exercised an average of twice per week, double the frequency of the others. Why this matters? Group 3 did something simple. They completed this sentence. During the next week, I will engage in at least 20 minutes of vigorous exercise on day, time, in place. That's it. Writing down the when and where doubled their success rate. Not motivation, not inspiration. The specificity of implementation intention. What implementation intentions are? An implementation intention is a before-the-fact plan about when and where you'll act or implement a habit. It's simple. If X happens, then Y is my response. Why does this work? Because human behavior is triggered by cues, and the most powerful cues are time and place. When you're in a movie theater, you suddenly want popcorn. When you're at your desk, you feel productive. These environmental cues shape behavior. When you set an implementation intention, you're pre-programming your response to these cues. You're making a concrete, specific decision in advance. Follow-through isn't a matter of willpower. It's automatic. Here are the practical examples. Instead of, I'm going to eat healthier, say, I'm having a green smoothie every morning at 7 a.m. in my kitchen. Instead of, I'll start journaling, say, I journal for 5 minutes at 10 p.m. every night in my bedroom. Instead of, I'll write my novel, say, I write in my novel for 1 hour before work every day in the library. The most effective habit formation tool isn't motivation or discipline, it's specificity. Know exactly when and where. Your brain handles the rest. Most of us live by to-do lists. It seems logical. More tasks to accomplish? Make a list and work through it. But here's the problem. To-do lists can be your biggest productivity saboteur. Why? Because a to-do list makes you feel like all items have equal value. You get a hit of dopamine every time you check something off. You feel productive because you're busy. But busyness isn't the same as effectiveness. Let's be honest. How many items on your typical to-do list actually move you closer to your real goals? How many are just tasks, busy work, distractions dressed up as productivity? And here's the psychology. When everything feels urgent, nothing actually is. The more items you add to your list, the more you feel behind, stressed, and reactive. You're not leading your day. You're reacting to it. The antidote is the not to-do list. This is a list of everything you consciously choose not to do. What goes on this list? All those things you've already said no to and set boundaries against. Addictive, distracting activities, social media, endless email checking, etc. Other people's responsibilities. Your boss's problem isn't your problem. Tasks that don't add real value to your life. Bad habits and harmful activities. Small, useful tasks that get in the way of bigger, impactful ones. Here's a hard truth. If you have more than one priority, you don't have any priorities. That might sound extreme, but think about it. Most people claim to have multiple priorities: family, work, health, hobbies, side projects. But when everything is a priority, nothing gets your real focus. The not-to-do list forces you to be honest about what you don't care about. What are you willing to leave unexplored? What can you let go of? These questions reveal what actually matters. Making a to-do list is about addition. Making a not-to-do list is about subtraction. And sometimes, subtraction is more powerful than addition. Remove the low-value tasks, and suddenly you have space and energy for what matters. The chapter's core principle: you're not just deciding what to do, you're deciding what not to do. And that decision is equally important. Productivity expert Jake Knapp hates traditional to-do lists. His criticism: most to-dos are just reactions to other people's priorities. No matter how many tasks I finish, I'm never done. More to-dos are always waiting. Sound familiar? To-do lists perpetuate a feeling of unfinishedness. You never truly complete them. Knapp created an alternative system called the burner list, visualizing it like a kitchen stovetop with 4 burners. Imagine a cook preparing a meal. One burner has the most important dish, the front burner. That's where the cook's main focus is. There's also a back burner with a secondary dish that's important but less urgent. The other burners have miscellaneous items, the kitchen sink, and there's counter space. This is your organizational system, the 4-part system: front burner, left column, top. This is your single most important project, just one. Write this down, and beneath it, list the subtasks required to complete it. Counter space, left column, bottom. Small additional tasks related to your main project, but you keep this space mostly clear, just like a real kitchen. Back burner, right column, top. Your second most important project. List it and its subtasks the same way. Kitchen sink, right column, bottom. Everything else, all your other projects, tasks, and ideas go here. Even if you have 2 or 3 more important projects beyond your main 2, they go in the sink because they're less important than your front and back burner projects. How does it work in practice? A real cook focuses primarily on the front burner, but doesn't completely ignore the back burner. They have a clear focus at any moment. No guilt, no confusion. They know exactly where their attention should go. This system forces prioritization. You can't have 10 priorities. You have one main focus and one secondary focus. Everything else gets categorized and largely ignored until you've progressed on your priorities. As you complete tasks on the front burner, you move things from the back burner or kitchen sink to the front. But you do this only when the front burner is cleared. This creates a natural progression that keeps you focused and prevents overwhelm. Many big life decisions seem to require months of planning, research, and deliberation. Should I get divorced? Change careers? Move cities? These decisions are complex, and it's easy to get stuck in analysis paralysis. But here's the problem. Research, planning, considering options, none of these is action. And none of them will actually move you from where you are to where you want to be. Example: Your team has a great new idea they're excited to implement, but your company immediately buries it with documentation requirements, risk assessments, meetings, and approvals. By the time all the paperwork clears, the team's passion has drained. Nothing launches. Decision-making bureaucracy killed the project. Too much planning and oversight can stifle action. It leads to nothing getting done. The shift Peter Hollins suggests is this: action should be part of your decision-making process, not something that comes after it. Instead of endless market research, run a small test and see what happens. Instead of debating whether customers will buy your product, get a sample product in front of real customers and observe their response. Action reveals what planning can't. You gather far more usable information in 1 week of trying something than in months of hypothetical debate. When facing a big decision, your mindset should be, beyond a certain point, planning won't reduce uncertainty. Only action will. What's the smallest, fastest experiment I can run to learn what I need to know? This reframes decision-making from a research phase followed by action phase to a continuous loop where action generates data, which informs the next decision. Your brain is amazing at processing information, but it's terrible at storing it. Right now, how many things are you trying to remember? Tasks at work, personal projects, goals, shopping lists, ideas, goals for your kids, medical appointments, that half-finished project you abandoned? All this mental clutter takes up cognitive real estate, space you could use for creativity, strategic thinking, or actual work. David Allen's GTD system, i.e. getting things done, solves this by externalizing your mental load. You get everything out of your head and into a system you trust. This frees mental space for higher-order thinking and creativity. The system has 5 simple steps: capture, process, organize, review, and engage. Step 1. Capture. Write down everything significant in your life. Everything. Books you want to read, questions you want answered, ideas, chores, goals and subtasks, shopping lists. Everything goes into an inbox, a collection point. Whenever you catch yourself thinking, I need to, or I should, that's your cue to capture and document it. Right then. Don't let it float in your head. Why? Because open loops, things you're trying to remember, act as continuous sources of anxiety. Your brain keeps signaling that something is incomplete. Step 2. Process. You take everything in your inbox and process it. Is it actionable? If not, delete it. File it for reference, or add it to a waiting for list, things someone else is handling. If it is actionable, what's the next physical action? Not a vague goal, but a specific action. Not finish project, but write introduction paragraph for project. Step 3. Organize your actionable items. Get organized by context or priority. Different tasks require different environments or states of mind. Tasks that require a phone go in your phone calls list. Tasks that require a computer go in your computer list. This prevents decision fatigue. When you have 15 minutes and a phone, you don't wonder what to do. You check your phone list. Step 4. Review and reflect. You regularly review your system, daily for active projects, weekly for the bigger picture. This keeps everything current and prevents items from being forgotten. Step 5. Engage. You work from your system with the confidence that nothing important is falling through the cracks. You're not reactive to every stimulus. You're intentional. The core benefit: GTD's real power is psychological. You trust your system so your mind can relax. You're not trying to hold everything. The system is. This frees enormous cognitive capacity. Imagine a brilliant student who earned admission to a prestigious graduate program. Smart, driven, compassionate. But within months, they're convinced their admission was a fluke. They look at other students and feel inferior. They assume others find the work easy, but they struggle. They're convinced they'll eventually be found out as a fraud. Welcome to imposter syndrome, and it's a major action killer, because if you believe you've already failed, why would you try? Imposter syndrome isn't based in reality. It's a cognitive distortion that interprets everything through a lens of incompetence. Failures are exaggerated, successes are dismissed, or reinterpreted as lucky breaks or others feeling sorry for you. The result? Extreme perfectionism, procrastination, and refusal to take risks or seek visibility, all to avoid being discovered as a fraud. Executive coach Eric Partaker developed a brilliantly simple technique: become a different character. Here's the idea. Your belief that you're an imposter is already identifying with a character, just a harmful one. The character alarms method counters this by allowing you to embody a different character, someone confident, capable, and unburdened by self-doubt. You literally set alarms throughout your day. When the alarm goes off, you temporarily put on this character. You move, speak, and think as this character would. You see situations through their eyes. Why it works? It sounds simple, maybe even silly, but it works because you bypass your self-limiting beliefs. You're not trying to convince yourself you're capable. You're not fighting imposter syndrome directly. You're simply operating from a different identity temporarily. The practical value. This isn't about permanent transformation through this method alone. It's about creating space to take action. By stepping into a different character during key moments, you remove the self-doubt that usually blocks action. And here's what happens. You take action. You get results. Those results then shift your actual beliefs about yourself. The character is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. And there you have it, a complete breakdown of Think Less, Do More by Peter Hollins. 13 chapters of actionable, psychology-backed strategies to overcome overthinking, build momentum, and create real change. The core message? Stop waiting for motivation. Stop overthinking. Start acting. Because action creates motivation. Momentum builds confidence. And before you know it, you're no longer thinking about what you should do. You're doing what matters. If this video helped you, please like, comment, and subscribe for more book summaries and self-improvement strategies. Also, if you want to buy this amazing book, there's a link to the book in the description and the pinned comment. Your next level is waiting. Now go build it.